Hello everyone, and welcome back to Lotus Patholistics. My name is Leonardo, and today I'm here to talk to you about the next spiritual life lesson in my video series, and it's about embracing your empathy. Now, empathy has been a topic that I've wanted to talk about for quite a long time, me myself being an empath, and I'm very excited to be discussing this with you today. So empathy and emotional consciousness, it's part of our outer spiritual gifts, and our outer spiritual gifts are, again, our actions and awareness of situations, our untapped potentials in a spiritual way, and all our outer consciousnesses and circumstances in our life. So empathy, like I said, is emotional consciousness. Empathy is about high sensitivities, connections, and unities with other emotional consciousness and other conscious beings. So empathy itself, empathy can be a simple, normal thing in people's lives, but when you start to actually use it in a spiritual way, it becomes very, very powerful in how you use it. So empathy is about the outer emotional nature of somebody's emotional consciousness and spirit. So it's very common in highly sensitive people, people who have very high sensitivities towards people's energies and auras and maybe even their personalities and their words. Very common in those types of people. Now, someone with very high senses, very sensitive, sights and sounds and things like that can be a very, very heightened and intensive empathy inside the soul. And also a strong connection to others, having a strong emotional bond with others can also show empathy. And a unity with energy. So if you have energy around you and you can feel that energy and you can feel it flow, well then likely you have a strong emotional nature. So the power of empathy, it can feel like other people's feelings are inside your soul. And it can be so magnificently powerful. It can also be draining as well. But you can also sometimes read people's minds, you can read their intentions without even words, as well as feeling like, time and space is, relevant, and you can feel the past and the future through your emotions. When you can start to feel your emotional consciousness, you start to tap into other dimensions of different things, because emotional consciousness is not just your aura and your chakras, emotional consciousness is everywhere. So the deeper advanced ability of empathy is what I call emotional resonance. It's a lot of what I teach at Lotus Patholistics. Emotional resonance is about a deeper empathic connection to everything around you. It's about picking up with your emotional consciousness information in everything. And this could be information in sounds and words and feelings, even body language. Empathy of numbers, empathy of air and fire, empathy of elements, empathy of animals, empathy. It's about actually having an emotional soul resonance with everything that you feel in the past, present, and future. And it's a lot of what I do, and a lot of what, a lot of people do that they don't even recognize. So emotional resonance is a deep, powerful ability that I've been able to master, and I can tell you that it takes empathy to a whole nother level. Very, very powerful stuff. So let's talk about a little bit of empathy and its curse. Every gift has a curse. So let's discuss how empathy can become apathy. Now, empathy is powerful, but when it turns into sort of like the opposite, people just stop caring. And they just don't care. They just go on like so desensitized to everything, so numb. And this happens a lot in our regular life because our emotional body is just above our physical body, and it gets affected by a lot of physical things that happen in our life. And we get disconnected from life itself. So very important to understand that every gift has a curse. And though you might be very empathic sometimes you could be very, very desensitized and apathetic towards things, and you run the risk of getting so sensitive that you pull back and you become very, very desensitized. And very, very rude and versus very, very nice, and just things like that. Emotional nature is very, very sensitive, so to speak. Well, so let's talk about past lives. In past lives, emotions were connected deep down within us. Empathy was natural. and empathy was just another type of language. Even today it is, but in past lives even more so. And in this life, empathy is usually a surprise. In my life it was. It's like having a deep connection to emotions. It usually comes at a surprise to people, and it's powerful because it begins spiritual journeys, but there's like a whole world of pain, and it's really hard to be empathetic in this world without feeling like things are about to fall apart at every point and at every turn. So in this world, empathy can really make you numb, because feeling so much pain at once, it really can be a lot. So let's talk about 3 steps that I want to share, especially with my story, about how I took empathy and used it to become who I am today. So empathy itself, 3 steps on embracing your empathy, 3 powerful, emotional, and sensitive steps to how to embrace your empathy. Now, number 1 is about resolving your own emotional traumas. Now, in the beginning, when you have empathy and it's becoming a spiritual gift, what gets in the way is your emotional trauma. Everything that you've been through, all the sad things and the things that are the scars that get in your way, you must solve it if you're actually going to get anywhere with your emotional body and your emotional nature. It's so important. You must solve your traumas. Focus on your traumas, not just everyone else's traumas, because empathetic people can tend to be people that actually, they care about other people among, all the rest, and then they just stop caring about themselves. So then, number 2, you want to actually learn how, to quiet your mind. Quieting your mind is very key to developing your empathy. And, the mind can get very chaotic and the emotions come in and you feel them all at the same time. You want to actually use your emotions to the powerful extent that it can be without overloading the mind and the focus. So, alone time, a lot of isolation time, just being with yourself, meditation time, it really helped me, and it can help you a lot. It is step 2, because once you actually start to solve these things, then you'll see that there's a lot of noise anyway in your soul, and you want to learn how to quiet your mind. Learn how to turn off your emotions. So, in the beginning it's all turned on, but you want to start to, in step 2, start to turn off everyone else. So shut out the world a little bit, solve your things and just shut out the world a little bit so that you can focus on you and more about who you are. Number 3 is about focusing your emotions, learning how to control your emotions, focusing your empathy using conscious awareness. So empathy then, after you learning how to turn all the negative and the positive off sometimes without becoming desensitized towards the world, and then, before that, solving your emotional traumas, it then becomes a powerful tool. Empathy can be used in the best ways by actually applying conscious awareness, being conscious and focusing deeply on your empathy, and then focusing your empathy on specific objects, specific people, focusing on specific details. Learning how to focus your empathy is super key, and that's why you want to clear your mind so that you could take your emotions and run them through your mind and your soul's eye. It's a very powerful technique. Embracing your empathy truly is about getting through those steps. You want to first, again, resolve your trauma, then learn how to quiet your mind, and then start to focus your emotions on specific targets, and focus your emotions on things that, the places where they belong, not just inward, but outward. You want to actually affect your real life. So that's empathy, and I would love to discuss it with you guys on Facebook on Friday at 8 p.m. Join me and Luna Dawn as we talk about it on our spiritual podcast, Let's Be Honest. We look forward to seeing you there. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.